Well, I think like back when I was looking for my person, when I found myself single in my 40s, I wasn't connecting with these people because I was still so guarded. I wasn't being myself, and I was like almost trying too hard. You know what I mean? I was trying to adapt to what I thought they would want in a partner, and I wasn't being true to myself. But once I just kind of let that go and was just happy with myself and who I was, and didn't give a crap about what I thought they wanted, the right person came into my life. Does that make sense?
Hi, honey.
Hi, honey.
How are you today?
Well,
You feeling
I'm feeling not very talkative today.
a little off?
A little off. Yeah.
Late night with the girlfriends? I get it.
Well, if you want to call that late, but I guess at our age it is late night.
Rocked it till 9:30.
Yeah, exactly. But today we were going to talk a little bit about whenever you find yourself single, but you're scared to put yourself out there because you're scared of repeating old patterns. I've had multiple people say to me, I'm scared, I have a bad picker, or, I always end up with the same type of person. And so that fear is kind of holding them back from putting themselves out there and finding that person.
It's interesting when we started this whole podcast, the whole idea behind it was we were just going to kind of try to chronologically go through our relationship, from meeting going forward. But I just think it's really interesting now that as you're talking with people, and it seems to be the conversation happens a little more organically between females as opposed to guys. Like, hey, man.
Yeah, I don't see a bunch of guys sitting around talking about their relationships.
How you feeling? Are you feeling like...
I see you doing that, but
have,
most guys, no.
Are you feeling any toxicity between you and your wife as you're sitting around having beers? I'm sorry, I shouldn't make fun of it because those are conversations that actually should be happening,
right?
But they're not.
We've been preaching that.
But they're not. All right, right. So maybe we'll affect change there. But I just think it's really interesting, the conversations you're having with friends of yours that are maybe midlife and they're starting to want to date again or just coming through a divorce. This is where it's interesting. There's consistency in the questions that they're asking you, I guess.
Yeah. So
which is really what prompted our conversation.
Right.
Today.
When we were thinking about what to talk about today, it was fresh in my mind because just in the last 2 weeks, some women that I know that are single, they're scared to get back out there because they're scared of getting hurt again, and they're scared of repeating that exact same pattern of picking the same type of person. So
is that what seems to come across as the most fear, or the biggest fear, or is that their biggest hesitancy, like when you guys are talking about when they're asking you questions? Or is it,
they've been hurt so badly through this past relationship that they're scared they're going to pick the same type of person again and have to experience that all over again.
I hadn't really thought about this till now, but like in my mind, you can be scared of being hurt again, but it may or may not have anything to do with the type of person. Or you could be scared of picking the same type of personality, behaviors in a person, and may not necessarily have anything to do with being hurt. I don't know if I'm making sense here.
Yeah, but, I know what you're saying.
So are you finding in your conversations, are they like interwoven?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think it's interesting.
Because I think we as people tend to fall back into familiar patterns without even realizing it.
Yeah, we're creatures of habit for sure.
So how did you fall?
I was just getting ready to say
out of because I've heard you say in your past relationships, during after you got divorced and then you were having different dating relationships throughout that 7 years before you met me, you said you tended to kind of fall back into the same type of relationships. Patterns. So how did you break those patterns?
I'm not sure I've broken them. No. That's like it's easy to sit here now and think back,
right,
and see the progress of moving into relationships that differed a little bit as they went forward. But back then I can't say that I was honestly thinking after exiting a relationship thinking, okay, well now, it's not like,
Right,
well,
and most people don't.
Yeah. I bought Rocky Road ice cream. I didn't like that, so maybe I'm going to try butter pecan.
Yeah, that's not how it typically works.
I mean, it'd be great. And this goes back to what I feel and what I was saying before. If you have like a mentor or somebody in your life or people in your life, they can kind of help speak into your life and help look at it.
Have an objective opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. Then it really would be good to be able to come out of a relationship, and part of that healing process is to reevaluate and reflect on everything, the attributes.
Well, and that's what I would say to these girlfriends too. Don't like just write off love because you feel like you're going to pick the same person. The first step is realizing that you have been following this pattern, and evaluate and see what that is and why you're doing that.
So if you're asking me my thoughts on it, looking back, I think, and I'll speak for me, the reason I was repeating, maybe meeting the same type of individual or some of the same behaviors, really didn't have anything to do with the person. And I think that's the key. That's the big miss.
So were you looking for something that you felt you were lacking, or were you looking for something that was similar to your personality, do you think, looking back?
I'm not sure that I can say I was being aware to say what I was picking. So some of the things I would look for, obviously I'd want somebody that was attractive in the way that I would describe attractiveness to me. And everybody describes that differently, and that's great. And there were certain attributes that were attractive to me or allured me. The personality, like I talked about before, funny, spontaneous, sarcastic personality, somebody that could cut up. But those are all like surface. I guess what I'm trying to say is we tend to go out and look for these for things in a person that intrigue us, interest us, and attract us. And then we wonder why that doesn't work out. I don't know I can really articulate this. It's more of kind of my mind, but we have to look inward first, because all of those things, all of the things that aren't working out isn't because the other person screwed it up. It's because we're projecting out things that are lacking in our own life, or things that we don't like about ourselves. And we'll get into this in a minute, but the law of attraction. Now, I coined that, attraction, but I know that there's a lot of hoopla around that whole, cliche, the law of attraction. But there's a lot of, not only my perspective and my opinion, but also in my real life experience, I've proved it out. So, looking back, I was making a lot of the same mistakes. I might have been picking somebody that at first I was attracted to, that had a real dominant, I don't say dominant personality, but a confident personality, which is great. But then maybe because I wasn't dealing with some other insecurities in my life, in my past, what initially started out to be attractive ended up being a conflict. Does that make sense?
So the question that people are posing is, how do you break that? How do you
break the cycle?
Yeah, break the cycle. It's a tough one, right?
Well,
I don't know if we have the answer to that.
Yeah.
But maybe the first thing is to recognize it.
Yeah.
Like you said, initially it was an attraction, but then it later became a conflict. So maybe kind of pinpoint what those things are. And then also, like you said, you need to be really set and sound within who you are and what you want, so that you can attract that.
Yeah, one of the analogies that comes to my mind when it was with regards to the conversation is think about your work life. Maybe not you, but a lot of people, they'll go get a job. They need a job. They get a job, pays good money, meets their basic requirements, right? They might get the basic benefits that they need. They're getting the pay they need to make ends meet, but don't really like the job. And then they lose interest, or they're not engaged, and so they go, well, this isn't working, so I'm going to go find another job. And a lot of times
You better not be looking for another job.
I'm not looking for another job. That's code word.
Dang.
But so, and this was my life, right? And I did this job. I got really good in a certain job, but it wasn't really satisfying. So I went on to try something else. And I tried something else because there was some component of that next career path that was interesting to me, and I may have excelled in it, but it wasn't fulfilling. And it took a while to realize, to stop that. So that was a bad habit. Instead of saying, hey, what is it about me that I really like, or what are some of what makes me tick? How am I wired? What can I bring to the world that gives me passion and joy? What is something that I would do even if I wasn't getting paid? That changed my whole trajectory in what I was going to do, and that was one of the main reasons I left corporate life, because I took some time to look inward and say, yeah, I can do good at this and make a lot of money, but I'm not really happy, and I'm not really being true or giving attention to those things that are natural to me. So the analogy is the same thing in a relationship. You move from one relationship to another, and you're finding problems with this relationship or that relationship. It doesn't work out, and you don't stop, say, who am I? What makes me happy? How am I showing up? And this is where it leads into that law of attraction. Is like, it's mindset. And you hear people talk about it all the time. Tony Robbins will talk about it. There's other folks out there that are, quote unquote gurus, which I mean, this is none of this is new. It's just how it's packaged.
Yeah.
But when you have a positive mindset about who you are, when you love who you are, when you are happy and comfortable with who you are, and everything, all your uniqueness, all of the idiosyncrasies, and when you can show up every day and not really care too much if somebody accepts you or not, that is a differentiator to me.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry.
That's all I got to say about that.
I totally, dude. Totally. Yeah, man.
Rock on with your bad self.
Yeah. I'm thinking we need a fatty over here. Man, what was that? Hot mic? Mike Tyson. We sit around and get doped up and just talk about shit. That may be what we need. So how did you break the cycle with me?
No, I mean, I don't have as many points on this subject to make, because I got it right out the door. Out the gate.
Did you now? Did you?
I'm teasing.
Yeah, you don't have a long history in relationships.
I would say to those friends, you have to take a chance. You never truly know if it's going to work out or not. But like you said, get right with yourself. Be in a happy place. Don't look for someone else to make you happy. And that energy, that wavelength will meet you to where you are. I truly believe. I
do. I agree with you. I think as a society we ignore this whole I'm going to call it a universal law, just like the law of gravity. There is a law of energy. Let's say a law. It's not a written law, but there is this existence of energy that you do draw in what you put out. I've experienced it in my own life. So if you're putting out negativity, it's going to show up in your life as negative people and negative situations. If you're putting out hopelessness or any of these negative traits, if that's what you're exuding, because if whatever's in your mind, thoughts are things. And I don't know any better way to say it, but thoughts are things. So what you think about is what you're going to experience. And, I know people would be like, no, that's a bunch of crap, but I mean, it's true. So if you're asking me, I'd say be who you want. Be the kind of person that you want in your relationship. Just be that, regardless of whether that person's there or not. And then just let life develop it.
I mean, and we don't want it to come off like we're saying you get what you deserve or like what you've put out there. That's not what we're saying. But
No.
if you recognize, like, if you keep getting in these unhealthy relationships, you've got to kind of look in and like, why am I accepting this kind of behavior in my life? Like, what am I missing? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, we all do it, right? I mean, we all listen. Even in our relationship, there's we hit hard points, and there's we get frustrated with each other, and we just do, right? And so that's
Tread softly,
that's
Sergeant.
really kind of going off.
Well, I think like back when I was looking for my person, when I found myself single in my 40s, I wasn't connecting with these people because I was still so guarded. I wasn't being myself, and I was like almost trying too hard. You know what I mean? I was trying to adapt to what I thought they would want in a partner, and I wasn't being true to myself. But once I just kind of let that go and was just happy with myself and who I was, and didn't give a crap about what I thought they wanted, the right person came into my life. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I've heard it a ton of times, and
like when I least expected it.
That's right. It's like when you hold on too tightly, and when you're trying to force something to happen. It doesn't have to be in a relationship. It could be in anything. There's a difference between, say, in a career and working hard to try to accomplish something. That's good, right? You need that. But that's different than trying to control and worry something into existence, because you are going to get the exact opposite. I mean, this old saying that, what I feared most has come upon me. There's truth to that. I was going to ask you, did you not get along because there was such an age gap between you and your...
I mean, that might have been some of it, but, I had to try the whole dating pool to know.
So what did you take to school for lunch?
Oh, you're funny. That's disgusting. No. Look, now you got me off track.
No, I think you hit on a key point though. When you're talking, when your friends are saying that, it's a real thing. Hey, I'm tired of getting hurt, and because of that, I don't want to try, or I don't want to put myself out there, or I want to build this wall around me. So now you've got this. Now you're fragmented because you do want love, you do want companionship, you do want closeness on one side. On the other side, you're letting your fears, your worries, your doubts of what could be or what could happen get in the way. And so now there's this like, what was that? Irresistible force and an immovable object. They just come against each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the biggest thing is you just gotta let go. Like.
Yeah.
Now, it's easier said than done. My mom worked with domestic violence for years, and so that could be a real thing in relationships. And I totally get if someone has experienced verbal abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, whatever, substance abuse, to have even bigger walls.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, that's something you've got to kind of work through professionally or whatever. And kind of, I still believe you can overcome that, right?
Yeah.
And it goes back to what you and I are saying is, it's like learning what choices you're making, learning what to look for, and seeing what's inside of you. And if there's something inside of you that you don't like, change that.
Right. And just because you made wrong choices in the past doesn't mean that you are forever doomed and always going to pick that type of person. You can change it.
Yeah. I mean, you're a perfect example for me. Well, that's, I don't know if I want to tread down this road or not.
What What are you going to say? I don't want to say it.
No, I'm just I knew I had to shift. Let's kind of list out some of the things that you could tell your friends who are asking this question, when or making the statement, hey, I'm afraid to try. And they're really looking to you because in this case, because they see you in a happy relationship. They see you that you've come out of a multi-year marriage where you were not happy and disillusioned and taken advantage of, and you went through a time period, and now I mean, I think they see you as a success story.
Yeah, I think we're absolutely
Yeah.
success story. Cut that out. I messed that up.
Yeah.
Put that in with the baggages.
Right. And so how do you communicate, or like how do you help?
Well, I mean, I want everyone to have what we have. So when I hear them say, when I hear the reluctancy to put themselves back out there in the dating world because of the fear of picking the wrong person, it really hurts me. And I just want to say, just go for it. But I get it. Everyone's pain is real. Everyone's experience is different. But for me, I guess the advice I would give them is you realize that you've been picking the wrong type of people. You realize that you don't want this type of relationship anymore. So, I mean, that's a biggie right there, right? And pick something different. I mean, I know that sounds so simple, but I don't know what I'm going to say. That sounds silly.
No, I don't. I think what we do oftentimes, not so you and me, but people, is we make it too cerebral, meaning we try to use logic to figure out, to dissect it, to put together a plan. And what we do when we do that is we completely miss that part of us that absolutely knows. So, I'm talking about intuition. We've talked about this before, and I don't mean to beat this point, but it's there's no other way I can say that we all have this intuition that if we would just listen to it and get used to it, we would find out that it's leading us in the right direction. So,
I feel like some people have a hard time finding that inner voice intuition.
Well, they do because of fear, right? I mean, that's the big doubt and fear, the biggest hindrances to being able to clearly hear your intuition. And with that now, so when you get used to, or you're following your gut, listening to your intuition about somebody, you need to trust it and take a little step, right? Another point I would tell people, and I've talked to my kids about this. Sometimes I get the rolling eyes, but if you want something in your life, and I don't care if it's a career, I don't care if it's a relationship, I don't care if it's a whatever, it doesn't matter. The best way to have that develop in your life is to see it already happening. Take that. I would tell everybody, and I'll tell everybody I can, take time in the morning, right when you go to sleep, that 5 or 10 minutes when you're falling asleep and your mind's thinking about all kinds of stuff. That's what you're going to marinate on for the next 8 hours when you're sleeping, or 6 hours, however long you sleep. Intentionally use that time to think about, okay, what do I want? And it could be anything. It doesn't matter. What do I want? How would I feel if I had what I wanted, or if I was the man or woman that I wanted to be? And kind of put yourself in that, like in your imagination when you're going to sleep, in your mind. Put yourself in that role, in that, whether in this case you want to be in a healthy relationship. What would it feel like? Let yourself feel those feelings. Let yourself see in your mind's eye what that would feel like. And fall asleep like that, and make that a habit every night. And in the morning, take 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever time you have, and do the same thing. And then watch life develop it. I mean,
changes your whole energy field, right? When you have all these positive thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, it does. Not only that, but I mean, people say, well, that's just wishful thinking. Well, it's not. Thoughts are things. We create the lives we live by the things we think about. But we never put the two and two together, so we don't realize when something happens that stemmed out of something inside of us. Again, this may sound woo-hoo, but I mean, you can do anything else you want to try to, to try to find that right person. But until you allow yourself to see it and feel it as being a fact, you're just going to struggle. Another great conversation today. So I love you.
I love you.